here. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Ginny, that doesn't sound good, honey.
You can't stay here. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hon. Well, listen, my heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are at QI number 3, our last QI. I'm going to miss you guys.
I know.
And this is winter 2019 with Daniel and Ginny. And so the plan for today that I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about, first of all, any questions that you have, and answer those. And then I would like to go over summaries. And then I'd like to go over the final summary, just to kind of guide you in the right direction of how we need to know. And first and foremost, congratulations. Yay. We are at the end. You guys have done a great job. Yeah, it's incredible. I know you have worked really hard. And Ginny's coming off of call and a long, miserable call. So we're just going to support her today and hold her up. And that's going to be our second job for today. So let me take questions first. What about anything, PDSA forms or my memory is that you both are doing very well on the forms and you've gotten them and you've kind of gotten the hang of that. Yeah. For your 4th cycle, for when you hand in your 4th cycle, which is it tomorrow or next week? Next week, right?
Next week.
Yeah.
Well, it's next week.
Sorry. I need to be done. I need one more week.
Yeah, I'm like,
when you hand that in, that the final test of change, that final act will be how you close things up. So what will continue, what will end, who somebody else will take this over. We'll do quarterly chart audits. However that is you're going to finalize that, because even though I hope that you will continue what you're doing in terms of best care and best practice, the project and all of the measuring and the intensity of this will end, and it needs to end for everybody. That's a very important part of quality improvement. Not that you won't then begin something else, but you need to package this up. So how it will end and how it will, so everything up until the next, until your literature will be from what you've learned, et cetera, et cetera. And then your citations can actually be corroborative, or it could be how you end this up, either way, how that could go. So are there questions about run charts first or data?
I wanted to ask you just real quick about on the last act. In the sample, it says, just like you just said, discontinue, continue, or spread. Is that like a sentence, like a little paragraph for each one, or purely just like
whatever you want? It can be whatever you want. I mean, it could certainly be a sentence or so, since you're wrapping it up, and if you need to, or if it's something like it's going to end, it could just be that this is going to be terminated.
Okay.
So a lot of times case management logs, that is not going to go on. It might be audited quarterly or something. But
yeah, that was the piece my team was most concerned about.
Yeah,
yeah. I was like, it's good for us, but like long term, our system and kind of how we do things and track things, I think it will do a pretty good job. It's just about kind of getting that mindset and really looking at those specific pieces.
Well, and knowing what pieces that when you've got 10 measures that you're running.
Right.
So what measures need to continue? What measures can, a chart audit can be done weekly or quarterly or monthly or however you want to do that. Or if something is running really well, again, the quarterly is very appropriate. So it may be really short, or if you feel like you want to say something, go ahead and feel like you can do that.
Okay.
What else? What other questions?
I have to say that it has been, even in just writing the summaries and kind of doing all of the workbook last term, I had a couple of like aha kind of moments. And then when I got the feedback this week, I was about the annotations on the run chart and kind of why I can't see the progression. It's like, another aha. But I want to clarify, because originally I thought we were annotating, why did we have this low? Why did we have this high? Like a particular thing, but we need to annotate our test of change. Mm-hmm. That needs to be on.
So sometimes sometimes it is a high or a low.
Those astronomical points.
You want to, there's something interesting there that you want to. All the team was here. Maybe you've been struggling with getting your team there all the whole 8 weeks, and everybody was here and everybody was functioning. And oh my God, it can work, right? But a lot of times students feel like they have to explain why you have the dips. Like all the annotations are on it, like. This happened. That's just normal human nature. But to tell your story, you really want to see your interventions. And then so again, picture yourself at IHI, you got your poster up here and there's your run chart. I'm walking by. I want to be able to see, oh, she did this and this. I mean, I can see you did this, it sung. You did this, it did better. I can figure that out. I need you to help me with the interesting tidbits of the story, but I can walk by that if you've run to the bathroom and know what you did and how it went and what kind of things you did that worked or didn't work. And that is very helpful.
Okay. So early on when we had like a big dip or a big high and we annotated some little something, take those off at this point, unless it's way crazy and we need to make a point of it. But for the most part, we want, what was our test? What interventions did we do to get this outcome as we went through our PDSAs?
Yes. And so what I would say, it's the significant things.
Right.
So if you, I'm trying to think so somebody might have gone to 90 or 100% right away. So maybe Daniel's screening form or something, I can't even remember. Mm-hmm. So those tests of change may not be interesting because you stayed at 90 to 100%. Right. You got there, you stayed there. They may not be terribly relevant, but he might feel it's relevant to tell something about the context of his site, that he had more and more people coming to his meeting. I don't know, I'm making this up. Yeah. I had people that were working with a homeless shelter and they had a snowstorm. So of course nobody showed up, right? So they were 100% on everything because they had like 3 patients. Right. So that was significant. So the bottom line here is you need to be able to tell the story and you get to choose what you put on there. And you don't want more than 3 to 4 at the most, because this is a very small run chart. Right. And if you have any more than that, the words and the annotations take over the run chart. And the run chart really should be the focal point. Okay. Does that help?
But we need each of our tests of change.
If you decide it's significant. Okay. So if you decide like it's going at 100% the whole way across, it doesn't matter what your test of change were, and you don't feel like any of them were, I'm drawing a blank on suggestions, but you don't feel like any of them were really significant. Right. You don't need to put every single test of change in there.
Yeah, like truly my shared decision making with my patients. It's just kind of like straight across.
So put something in there that you can tell a story with, but you don't need. Okay. You can or you don't have to. There's not a right or wrong, Ginny. Okay. 3 to 4 that tell me something, tell your audience something. I always look at it like I'm your audience. I try not to know what your project is. What does this look like? That's what the run charts are. Those are the visual.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
The bottom line is you get to choose.
Yeah.
There's not a right or wrong.
I don't guess I realized that as much. And so, but then when I was reading the feedback, it was like that, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense that's what we
Well, and in the beginning, I want you to put those on.
Yeah.
Because they are reminders to you. And then when we get to this point, now you get to that one really, as I look at this whole thing, that really wasn't insignificant. I'm going to take that one out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And the only other question I have is my last test of change for my shared decision making, because I feel like I'm just going straight across with patient engagement. And so I've added different kinds of questions and more open-ended. And so my last test of change was to talk with, complete the form with the patient and see if I get a different feedback, something different. And you were like, yeah, I don't know if that really, what are you trying to get here? I don't know if that's a sustainable test of change. Right. And so in my just kind of thinking, and what can we do? And so I don't know if this is an appropriate thing or not, or if it's just kind of one of those things you do. We give a Hershey Kiss when they check out with their return visit appointment card, and give them a kiss goodbye, which I just think is super cute. And so I'm like, well, what if we do something when they check in that is because not all of our patients get that initial, the way it has worked out. Not all of the patients get the initial when you check in. Hey, did you know these are the recommendations for preventative care? Did you know this is what's recommended? And talk about STIs and preventative screenings and such. And then what's important to you. What do you want to talk about today? So if there are follow-up patients that we just saw 2 weeks ago, but they were a new patient 2 weeks ago, they didn't get that form. They got this whole new patient packet. Right. So what if we gave them here's a kiss and tell type of something when they checked in? So the same concept that kind of fits with our thing, but hey, kiss and tell your provider what's important to you today. If every single patient who walks through the door got that, then they would all be having that, and it might tie in better with the evaluation that they're doing after their visit.
Sounds great.
So is that a test
sounds
of
like a good
change?
idea.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So you're increasing patient engagement I mean, it has to do with your topic, but it has to do with everything. And really, when you get something that is going across very, very well, then you may have satiated that topic, but there's always more patient engagement. And what you're doing is the beautiful thing about what you're doing is you're not looking about what can I do now, but what can we all do to engage the patient. And I always love prevention is that's my favorite thing. And so I feel like as midwives and nurse practitioners that we need to be empowering our patients, all of us, and physicians as well, to know what they should be doing. Give them the power to know, hey, I'm going to be due for a PAP in 3 months or whatever it is. So yeah, I think that's super, and it's really great when you start to connect the dots. Your team will like that as well. Oh, this goes with what we're doing, and it's funny how something as simple as connecting those dots will inspire and bring your team in to continue the practice. If they've already accepted the practice in the beginning, the kiss in the beginning, the kiss and tell at the end is gonna, or vice versa, they're gonna get that. They're yeah, okay, let's do that.
Right.
Yeah, I think sounds like a really good and creative idea.
Okay,
yep.
Good. Well, we started it, it was on Thursday, I think. I said, let's just do it. But I didn't know if that would really qualify as our test of change.
Yep. Sounds good.
Good. Perfect.
What other things? Anything else? Yeah, as I said, you guys are both doing very, very well. I don't have any other issues for the two of you.
I want to see Daniel's summaries. I like to read other people's things to see, because I'm like, oh, yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to do now. If you guys are good, let's go over summaries so we can start talking, because what I'd really like, the reason I harp on you so much on this is I'm hoping we can get those summaries. It's like your 5th revision, right? It's like you've had 5 chances to revise this. And then next term, when you write your paper, that'll be another chance and another chance and another chance, so that really this is a bulk of your paper. The results section is a bulk of what you're doing next term. So if you guys are good, why don't you each pull up a process? I don't know if you can pull them up simultaneously, but one intervention, anyone you want, pull up a process and an outcome, the run charts. And let's work on telling our story and how you say that, how you summarize that in one clump.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I can pull that up side by side.
Yeah, I don't. Sometimes some people can, because they can download one and have the other one on their tab, but some people can't. So
and read our summaries.
Nope, you're gonna make it up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And we're gonna help you along the way.
Oh, Dr. Butler, did you you were gonna check with the other faculty about the whole, like, if there's a gap in data?
Yes, and I did, and I don't remember what they said.
Okay.
So I'm writing myself a note right now. Now, it was a gap in data. Was it a?
It was it was at the very beginning. It was in the first cycle, because there were no surveys collected during that collection point.
Yep.
So I just left it as blank, and so it just leaves in the beginning a little gap.
Yeah.
So
I just wrote it down, and I will find out for you. Promise.
Okay.
I apologize for that one.
That's okay.
Good. Anyway, I know what I'm going to do.
I know.
So who's ever ready can go ahead and pull it up.
Okay.
Can't believe it's March already. That kind of blows my mind.
Yeah. I wonder if I can do a screenshot. That might be my best way.
It doesn't matter. You can just do one of them. You can toggle between the two.
Oops.
Okay.
All right, Daniel, let's see what you got.
Okay, so this is C ramp. It's my process using the screening tool, and then this is the identification of extragenital sex behavior.
Okay.
Which I don't. I mean, maybe C is not. I mean,
no, this is fine. So when you think about it, it's sometimes the screening is screening is right care. The outcome is not necessarily right care, right? It's just, it is what it is. Because that's not a good or a bad or a goal, right? It's just an identification.
Right, it's just a fact, yeah.
So the screening is what I would go with, but let's look at this run chart, kind of sink it out in our brain. So basically you started at 50, where'd you go?
Oh, sorry, oh, you want the outcome?
That's okay. You started at 50%, besides one little weird point, you went up and you had a dip and a high, and then you were at 50%, and then a dip and a high again. All right, go back. I'm just laughing because it's like parallel to each other.
Yeah,
now
so
go to your process.
This is my process here.
Dip and a high and a dip and a high. It's similar, isn't it? When you think of it that way.
Yeah, except they're sort of
opposite.
Swapped. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Daniel, can you tell us your story here? How you write your summary here?
Yeah. So implementing a new screening tool for extragenital sex behavior, including oral and anal sex. And so the tool was implemented and given as part of the shared decision-making tool. And as the first cycle went on, we saw a decrease in use. And so we had the MAs review the screening tool with the provider ahead of time to both help prepare the patient and to ensure that it had been completed. And so then, as you can see, it goes back up to 100% there. And then as we continue to do well with that, we spread the tool to the OBGYN department, and then a steep drop in percentage of use. This then, at the end of the third cycle, then that use came back up. And then I know in this last week, which I haven't got all the data in yet, they improved on making sure that the correct patients who needed the tool got the tool. Okay.
So so what I would say is you want to make sure to use the PDSA cycles as your structure. That's kind of don't go away from us yet. That is how you structure it. So remember, this is scientific writing. It is pretty straightforward. No hidden secrets or agendas here. You want it to be grammatically correct, of course, so that it flows.
Right.
So Daniel used his data. He had some PDSA cycle talk in there, but he was very descriptive of what he did and when it went down. You could say there was a drop of 25% to 75%. Okay. You don't have to describe each and every data point, right? So you wouldn't be doing that if you were talking to an audience, but you would talk about in generalities. So you started the implementation of this tool. It went with your shared decision-making tool and went right up to 100%. What happened, Daniel, that it went down? Or was that just a natural progression?
Yeah, we just had a few, some of the people that were supposed to get it didn't get it on the,
So just the natural progression, it dropped down to whatever that is, 75%. We decided to institute having the MAs. It's good to throw in your learning there. So what did you learn that led to the MAs reviewing it first?
Okay, gotcha. So we learned that patients weren't completing the tool, and we found this out after by the time the provider was already in there, and so
it was taking too much time. So a very short and concise learning that leads you to that next test of change.
Okay.
So that's almost in English grammar, that's the conjunction. That's the piece that hooks it together.
Okay.
So we started out with no tools being used, but did you screen at all for any intermittent? Was anybody screening for oral and anal sex?
Yes.
So I wouldn't have your baseline be 0.
Kind of. Okay.
You weren't using a tool, but you were doing some screening. However, I will tell you that at this point, if you go back and try to fix that, it will mess up your whole run chart.
Yeah.
So
it was just that and the thing is, in Title 10, every patient does a new history form, and this is different from the rest of the clinic. And so it's like literally 100 questions, and one of them is, do you just mark vaginal, oral, anal? Like, it's
yeah. So the only thing I would say is use your PDSAs as appropriate. So if this went straight across, if this was really boring and went straight across, you could say we immediately got to 100% usage, and that maintained throughout the 4 PDSAs, despite
changes and
well, I wasn't going to even use the word despite. With, you know how I always tell you have to water your plant and give it sun even if it's doing well. So if it went right across and was really ranging between 90 and 100% the whole time, you could say we rose right to 100% usage utilization rate, and we maintained that rate with X, Y, and Z interventions. Period. You're done. You don't need to say PDSA 1, 2, 3 because it's still at 190, and even if it's that range, you could give the range of 90 to 100. Now, if you have some variation here, so there is a story there to be had.
Yeah, my process ones are a little more, because you can see like when it spread to OB, it dropped. Like that obviously changed, and those went together.
And that's expected.
Right. Yeah. And and it was interesting going over that with my team at my last team meeting Thursday, which went really well. I had like 20 people there. It was great. But I was like, okay, let's look at this data. Like, here you see it drops down when we spread to OB. And I was like, however, that was really challenging because there are more providers. We like tripled the patient. I'm like, making sure that they know I wasn't like,
slamming them.
What happened? Yeah. And so I was like, and they picked up, and look, it came back up at the end of the cycle, and look, and then I said, and at that point, because I was on Thursday, I'd had Tuesday and Wednesday's data. I said, and you guys had perfect usage, this week so far. And so, like, just making sure, but it was just, I was like, this is interesting for me. I was like, oh, but I gotta show them this too. Like going through that thought process, like, how do I best present this?
But you were right. You have to encourage them. You have to show them to motivate them, but then you encourage them to move forward.
Right. Yeah.
And that's using the data. So that was great. Now the trick here becomes you have to, this is why I say to you, print all your run charts at this point, every single one of them. And you need a big wall. And put them on a full sheet of paper, each one, and print them up and down, process outcome, all the way down with your aim and your balancing. And that way, when you go to write your summary, you're looking at your process and the outcome. The trick here, of course, the art, is to give one paragraph with the process and the outcome.
Right.
So sometimes the process is boring. Often the process is the interesting part, right? And the outcomes are less interesting.
Outcomes are more,
but whichever way it goes. But it's to weave those two together. That's a bit more of the art of how you do this. Okay, so using the PDSA as needed to ground people, to help them figure out where you're going, and yet not be monotonous. And then also to use your data, use ranges, percentiles, means, medians, modes, whatever whatever statistics you want to use there, but use those as well as trends, shifts, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
And I'm going to also tell you to go back over chapter 6 in your OGRINC text, which talks about the analysis. And will really, it's simple. It will literally take you less than an hour to read that whole chapter. But it's going to start to help you really look at this and analyze these in terms of replicability and what that means and how you can determine some significance or not from that. Okay. All right, Ginny, you want to give it a try? Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah. So I have to say, I don't know that I read the chapter, but I did look in, I watched the videos again from IHI about the run charts and interpreting and analyzing, and it was very helpful for me to watch that. I feel like now we finally have enough data points to.
Yes, you do. You do.
Yeah.
You do. And also then when you do that, you're going to start to see associations and correlations, not only within the run, within the intervention, but maybe this process and this outcome. And that's what you also want to start to take to notice of. And you're right. It's hard to do that when you have very little bit of data. By cycle 3, you start to have enough data that you can sometimes start to see those.
And I felt like I was writing, 1 point away and 2 points away, data points away or whatever. But it was nice to start seeing that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So my screening tool, which I can't remember if I've changed. You and I met Dr. Butler on whatever day that was. I don't know if I've changed all my stuff yet.
That's okay.
But I feel like I feel like this has been a very interesting kind of, a lot of stuff happening. And again, I have not made the changes as far as taking off some of these annotations and truly doing the interventions, but
give us your best shot.
Yeah. So we implemented we revised a can I call it a chart prep tool?
Yep.
Okay. So we revised a chart prep tool to be more appropriate to our patient population. And with the implementation of that, we started with a baseline of about 65% and went, once we got into the process and beginning with PDSA 2, we increased to a mean of 94. And see, this is what you're talking about. It doesn't really show me what we did or didn't do because I don't know what we did.
So you can say we just in PDSA cycle 2 we did X, or pull up your test of change worksheet and have it and peek at that.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. I don't remember what I did. So
it's so funny because I can almost remember what you guys
did. So after we realized we did not have initially we were screening for HPV vaccine uptake. We expanded that to include STI prevention and sexual wellness. So we added that to our screening tool so that we can improve screening for those things. During PDSA 3, I began checking the tools prior the night before to see if I could identify a process issue, why we weren't improving with that. And we did discover that we're having to access a total of 3 systems to get all of the information needed. And due to our high number of no-shows, the MA was not doing that the night before. She was waiting until the patients arrived. And then we would get busy and it was not getting done. So we are currently working on adding things to our medical history so that as patients come in, we can update it there. And then as patients return, the information will already be there and hopefully won't have to access those systems.
Right, because, and Ginny, I might even think about bringing that into the initial conversation when you talk about changing from HPV only, because you were yourself fooled that you thought there was this huge need, but you didn't realize there was 2 other systems that needed to be checked.
Right. Okay.
So that's, that was obviously that's a system flaw in your EHR.
Okay.
So that I think that you can word that very concisely. Okay, so here's I'm going to try and give you my version of this right here.
Okay.
So we are screening for sexual health status at approximately 45%. But the tool was incomplete. So we updated the tool to include HPV vaccine. Well, you started with HPV only, right?
Right.
Okay. So we were screening for HPV at approximately 45% and implemented this tool to improve our screening status when we increased by about 40%, 30%, up to 80%. And shortly after that, up to 95%, but quickly realized that there were 2 other sources. Let me just tell this person that I can't talk. We quickly realized that there were 2 other, databases that we hadn't searched. And so we found out that really HPV was doing very well. Vaccine series was doing very well. And so we expanded to include all STI screening and testing, contraception, pap smears, and mammography. At that point, we dipped, by expanding that much, we dipped down to 65%, but quickly bounced back up to 90%, 30%, back up to a median of 90%. And that continued, MA out and unusual no-shows, walk-ins, with And then in PDSA-3, we realized that we were dropping down again to below the median of 90%, and that our walk-ins were causing some disruption in our screening process. So we did whatever it was. You move the pre-check to the night before, and then now we are consistently above the median in PDSA cycle 3, above the 95th percent median, something like that. So you're using your data, you're using your PDSA cycles, I'm using your annotations a lot because I don't know all the ins and outs of yours, but you're hooking what you learned that led to the next intervention. So it makes sense. It's not a mystery. It's not pulling things out of the star. It's literally, well, this is what we learned from our data, so it led us to do this next intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when I'm making these annotations, and so our base, so we added so where it says forgot reminded is about probably, if I look at when we did our test of changes, I mean, that's when we expanded to the full sexual, the full sexual health versus HPV. And so that's what I would say there.
Yep. And again, with any spread or expansion, it's new. It is expected to have a decline.
Okay.
So that's okay.
Okay. Okay.
That makes sense?
It does. It does.
You guys want to try another one, or are you feeling good?
Yeah, I think I feel pretty good about it. I think especially once you kind of can really write it and see it all, and and going back to our summaries that we did, right, is helpful, I think.
Yeah, and that's why I really encourage you to literally find a wall and paste them all on your wall. It really is the only thing, it's like when you go through the modules. You look at the module, you step back out. You go into the nitty-gritty, you come back out. You have to do that with your run charts in order to get that sense of what is happening on the big picture, because you get so minute into this week into next week that nobody cares what happened from one day to the next.
Right.
Ginny, how about you?
I think I'm very much getting the concept of what to write and say and all of that.
Okay.
But I do have, one, just because this is in red, so it caught my eye. And we talked about this quite a bit at our last meeting, and it was very helpful. So I've kind of changed this title to Evaluation of Sexual Health Status.
Uh-huh.
Do I need to add pre-visit, or am I micro?
No, I think pre-visit is actually really good.
Okay.
You're doing a pre-visit checklist is really what you have.
Yeah. And then when we're writing the summaries, what I'm finding as we go, when we add more data, then the median changes. And so,
yes.
I'm writing for PDSA-2 and my median was, 60. Well, now my median is 70. Is it okay if we kind of go back and say what our median was during we had a median of, 60 PDSA-2, we increased, by 50%, and now it would, and ranged from whatever. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because that was true at the time.
Right. Okay.
The thing with these run charts is it's my take on it is the most important thing is to be transparent. To when you've changed something, you note that you've changed it. When you have, Bethany's doing the OR PACU pre-op. I don't know if you remember. And so she shrunk to 3 anesthesiologists and had this huge rise. And so I said, it's not that you as long as you're clear that you needed to shrink in order to show the process could work, that's perfectly acceptable. Mm-hmm. It's being transparent and not, I think the thing that I try the hardest to do is not to, how people always talk about you can make your data say anything you want. Well, just to be really transparent of this is what we really did. This is why we flubbed. This is why we succeeded.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's kind of the hard part too, because it's like, I feel like if we started with this in PDSA-1, I have to measure it and document it and track it all exactly the same, or it's going to look like I cheated or something,
Right.
Because that's what we're used to in our past of this research-based stuff. And so it's a very different mindset.
It is really hard to let that go.
Yes.
And that's what and you can't really get it until you are in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you over and over, it's okay. Just put down what you actually really did. And as long as we're transparent that, it succeeded because I had one patient.
Right.
It looks like I did beautifully because I have done a total over 8 weeks of 15 patients. Well, if we can't take care of 15 patients perfectly, over 8 weeks, we are really hurting.
Yeah.
So again, that transparency, I think, is just very important. All right, how about if one of you pulls up the summary, the final summary, and let's take a look at that. And then as I go through this, do you guys mind if I send this video clip to the first group? Because I realized that I didn't go over the summary with the first group.
Oh,
So
yeah.
since yours is a
Sure.
little shorter session, I'm going to share it with them if that's okay with you.
Daniel, do you want to go
Make
first?
sure I do something really weird. Yeah, and you want us to just pull it up like in
Yeah, just somebody pull it up and put it and
yeah,
share it with
in
us.
Canvas.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting it now. It's loading.
Yeah, it's always a little slow when we're all sharing.
Mine's up. Here, I'll go because mine's up.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Good.
So the summary of your whole PDSA. Oh, Ginny, I don't mean your particular summary. I meant the summary.
No, she means like in Canvas.
Yeah.
Oh.
The final summary that you're going to write.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have that pulled up.
Okay, I'm on my way again.
All right.
Okay. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll go for my summary. Sure.
Well, we're appreciative.
Oh, here we go. Stop sharing.
Okay. Boop.
You're almost there, Ginny.
I know.
Oh.
I'm going to be waiting for October for you.
When I enrolled for the next course, it was so sweet because like it hit me. And Daniel, interrupt whenever you have it up. I was like, I must have had this look on my face because one of the MAs came in and she was like, "Are you okay?" And so I told her what I had just done, and I kind of started crying a little bit. And she just rubbed my back and she's like, "It's okay, that's so good." But it just hit. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Because there have been so many times that I felt like, is this project? Am I really getting what I'm supposed to be getting? Like, I know I'm understanding the process. I am gaining that knowledge, but am I able to do that in my clinic? Is it meaningful? Because I want it to be meaningful, not just jumping through the hoops.
Right.
And I feel like it's coming to that. It is meaningful.
Well, and I think it's for everybody, it's a hard journey, Ginny. It's a hard journey.
Yes.
And when you sign up for that last course, it's like, oh my God.
Yes.
You haven't pulled your head up to breathe in 6 months.
Right.
And it's really a little bit of a shocker. It's very common. I will say that it is a very common emotion. And yesterday I was over at Diana Jollis's house. We were working on the revisions. I can't wait for you guys. I'm going to have to share with you once we get it done. But she was doing the presentation of one of her students, because this is all of our students are presenting now. And she got a little weepy and she was like, "I can't believe I did that. That was so unprofessional." I said, "No, actually, that was quite human. And it's lovely because you are our little chickies and we're so proud of you." So it's really, it's a lovely thing. So you're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Daniel, you have it?
Yep.
Can you pull up the actual summary sheet? So this is the Squire.
No, final practicum summary report.
That's what
right?
I want. Final practicum summary.
Okay.
Okay, Daniel, but I actually want the summary. I want to see the actual form, not the instructions.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. This is
So it should be here somewhere.
There you are.
Gotcha.
There you go.
It's coming.
That's okay. Okay, so I have a technical question for you while we're waiting.
Mm-hmm.
My backup hard drive died. Well, it didn't die. It got full about 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
And so I keep saying, "Oh, I've got to go get another one." Except I've realized that I either have to buy a bigger one or I have to, like, what do you do? Do you just let your old stuff be gone?
So, I mean, so it's an external hard drive, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you either have to get a bigger one and transfer it all into that one and then continue, or just have multiple that like certain data is on one and then you have to like plug it in to get, which is obviously annoying. So it just depends, I think, on the nature of what it is you like. If you need it all to be together, then yeah, you're going to need
I don't. I just, the thought of not having it is panicking me.
Yeah.
Like I haven't gone back. I mean, everything that I have for school, for you guys, is saved, right? But it's all the other stuff, like it's all my doctoral program, and I have it. I don't need to keep saving. And before I knew how to save things on Canvas, I was saving them all on my drive. And so I've got, oh my God, I've got students' stuff from forever that I'm not going through to weed out, but I don't want to keep it. So can I get a new hard drive that starts today? Like it won't save all the other stuff?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, if you have an external, yeah, you can.
You can set the date to start this day.
I mean, if you're putting an external hard drive on, like it's like its own storage unit, so it would just be like whatever you
can tell it.
Put on, yeah. Okay.
All right. Sorry for the technical question.
I'm so glad someone else has those things. I just discovered flash drive during this term.
So. Oh yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, I don't know why this is not opening, but here's the.
I think I actually have one open. I actually have one saved because I've been working on it because I'm.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like not. It's so strange.
It won't let you make it bigger.
Let's see. Yeah. We'll just. Oh well.
There you go. There you go.
There.
Okay. So the first part obviously is boring. You should be able to get this. Everything, this is your summary of past tense. You've folded your tense, you've gone home, and so now you're telling the story of what you have done. So everything in this is in the past tense. So the aim is, our aim was to blah, 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 blah. And your plan tested changes. Somewhere in the instructions, I think they're old instructions, and I think it says you can use bullet points. I'm going to ask you to actually write sentences because we are now going towards that next phase, as we have been with all of your summaries, to get you into the writing habit and to get you into the writing practice. So and with all of the IHI things, it is limited, 1 to 2 sentences, 2 to 3. I mean, that is a firm limit. So I'm going to ask you to really write these out. So your plan test of changes, remember, if you're doing a screening in SBIRT, it needs to go in that SBIRT format. Everything that you write should be screening, brief intervention, referral and treatment, and then team can go at the top or the bottom, I don't care. So your plan changes would go in that order. Everything here will go in that order from now on as you write this out. So Ginny, you are doing a pre-screening for the chart.
No.
I mean, it could go either way. You could do either way. I think logically, chronologically, it makes sense that you screen people first and then you're doing your brief intervention. Right. Same with Daniel. So I think it makes sense to write it that way, because as the patient walks in the door, the first thing you do is this and this, et cetera. So that's why you would write it out. And when you, so 2 to 3 sentences, which means that if you've got 4 interventions, you don't have a sentence per intervention. You've got to make this flow in a little bit, which is not difficult to do. Your results, again, this is going to be, I believe the directions are going to ask you to put 3 to 4 of your best run charts on here. Your best doesn't mean the best results, but you choose. So if you're doing a screening, again, for Daniel, who's doing extragenital screening, it's really the screening process more than it is the outcome of what he's identified. However, with him, he is looking to show that this is a real incident here. So you might choose one or the other, Daniel. I think with you, you are also, whereas Ginny's just trying to do a chart review, her outcome is not, I don't know. You get to choose which ones you're putting on here, 3 to 4 of your run charts. And underneath the run chart should have a 1 sentence. I would encourage you to not put, exactly what I can see. That by the end, the median here on our screening was 95%. I can see that. I don't need you to put that sentence underneath there. But if there was an important learning that you learned about this screening process or the screening outcome that you want to put under there, we learned that extragenital sex is occurring at the rate of X%, which follows the national statistics or whatever. So a sentence under there of your learning, very short and brief. then, so those are your run charts. And then your summary of results underneath, again, it's 3 to 4 sentences. So this is really, this is really brief. And just really what you learned, no, sorry, not your learnings, just the summary. So the overall summary of each core intervention. And the trick is to, again, make this verbally and in prose that flows a little bit, that it's not like a laundry list. But this is nothing new. There's nothing brilliant here. You're learning, which is I have been making you push towards actually telling me your learnings each time. One of the things that we are thinking about for next term that I will throw out here that might help you is, you know how your learning section has learning from the aggregate, learning from the run charts, learning from this, that, and the other thing, your positive and negative predictions. We were talking about putting one sentence underneath that whole rigmarole. Just, okay, what is the overall learning here? So what do you gather from all of this? That's what I would put here under your learning. The learning about my team and my patient engagement, you know, and they might have gone together. Engagement in general I might have learned this, but you have a little bit more room there, 4 to 5 sentences. I will say to you, when you see things that give you more room to write, that is also telling you about the weight of that. So your summary is important, but the learnings, the impact, the conclusions, these are the big, this is what you gathered from this whole thing. So this is where the weight of this, of your words get to go. So you're looking at comparison of questions, predictions, and in basic, this is your analysis. We are a course in data. So please make sure that in your summary, in your learnings, you're putting some data in there. Okay? Questions about that so far? Your impact on your system. Oh, go ahead, Daniel.
No, I think I mean, some of it's like what we're writing in our summary paragraph,
Exactly.
but we're kind of putting it out in all the different areas. Okay.
Yep. So again, this is nothing really new. The impact on the system, this is really looking at, I like to think of it as the impact on your site, on your team, and on your patients, those 3 things. That's the kind of the whole picture of, excuse me, of what we're seeing. And then what do you conclude? Again, it's hard. You're getting better at this in your papers, in your PDSAs, but really, what are we doing? That same thing. We're pulling these out into each section. They should not be completely repetitive of each other. They are going to have the themes of your core interventions, but the impact is different from the learning, which is different from your conclusion. And then what is sustainable? What are the requirements for sustainable? And do you think this is going to be sustainable? And again, that sort of leads on impact. And hopefully, if there is an impact, that it is sustainable. And what measures are you doing to do that? Your reflection, we do want you to mention your team. What was the role of the team, and how did that? What are some of the things that you learned, barriers as well as facilitators regarding the team? So again, it's all the things. There's nothing earth-shattering and new here. No surprises. It's just pulling it all together and using that summative voice versus ongoing. In the last section, you do have to have your, can you scroll down? I think it's your mentor or your sponsor. I think it's your sponsor. Somebody has to, the sponsor. That actually has to be a signature. And I can't pass you until that's signed, because that is our ability to know that you actually were there and you did it, and they're saying, yes, they really were here. For the faculty sponsor, you can just type my name in. For your learner, I think you have to sign it as well. You'll have to look at the directions. But I know that you have to have the sponsor sign it. And sometimes people will upload a separate one that's just the signature of them on the bottom, because they had to take it in or whatever, however you do it. I don't care. I just need it signed, because I can't pass you until that is signed. So questions on that? It's nothing. This is where you start to really, again, it's not starting. You've been analyzing the whole way through, but here's where you're really looking at that big picture. And I would definitely put those up on the wall so that you can stand back and make those really summative comparisons and views on all of your run charts. And that's it. Then you're done.
That's it. I have to say, so when we were working on our clinical brief assignment, you know, and part of that is just learning quick, to the point. What are you doing? Okay, that took me like 8 hours, and I started with, you know, 4 pages of stuff to get it down to 30 seconds.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
And so when we do videos for the course, which we try to do a video with every piece that goes along, it literally takes about 4 or 5 hours to do a 3-minute video. It's painful.
It's painful.
And it's so painful for me, at least, to watch myself. That's just really painful.
Yeah. So as I was I have to say, when I'm recording them, I have like take 12, take 27, take, you know, whatever. Cause I'm tired of labeling these things. And then some of them, they're like 10 seconds and you see me go, you know, or whatever.
Well, and the bad thing is when I do them, we use this remote, what is this thing called? No, that's not it. Where is it? It's Microsoft. No, that's remote desktop. Where is it? It's this thing that goes to Frontier. Oh, TechSmith Relay. They all go to Frontier. And then I'm like, same thing. I'll get like 30 seconds in. I'll go, oh shit. And then I'll have to get rid of it. And I'm thinking, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, it is hard. It's really hard. And I think that some people have a real knack for it. What I have learned is that if I have a PowerPoint, that can guide me through, and that's really, really helpful. But trying to do one like you guys did with just you and talking, it's hard. Did you find that difficult, Daniel?
Yeah, there are moments where you're like starting, you have like your little notes and you're like, okay, this is like the flow, and you're really like looking at each sentence, like I get this much, like what do I really want to get through? And then you know, and I'll be like, the extras section, like what? No. So like you start like, dang it. Yeah, or some weird thing happens behind you or something, and you're like, yes. Like trying to just like really make it. But then like you actually will meet someone and you're talking to them and you're like, could someone just record that conversation? Because that was like, I did it, and because I keep having those, like I put in my notes, like our health promotion manager, she happened to be in the building when I was doing one of my, I did like a little huddle with my team, just like, hey, here's the test of change that we're doing in OB. And so she was there, and afterwards she was talking with me, and she was like, oh, like she was really excited, like, oh, I hope you're gonna take this to the quality committee. Like, are they involved in this? I'm like, well, we're, like they know I'm doing it, but since it's so small, and then we're gonna see as we go out. And I'm telling her exactly what we're doing, and that keeps happening. And I meet someone like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm this, and I'm actually working on this project, and I go through and I practice it all the time. But when you're like, okay, now condense that down and record it, just like, oh,
yeah.
Like it
and there is a special, making sure you have data in it, but not overwhelming, making sure you have an actual call to action. Like, this is what I need you to do, whether it's the patient or the provider or whatever. So yeah, it is interesting, the thing is that our hope is that you are now becoming quality improvement advisors, and that you are spreading the idea of quality improvement to everyone that you meet. This is what we do, and no, it's not done. This is not forever. We'll look at our data, we'll see how we're doing, and then we'll change it again. And because it is it's like Ginny was saying, you don't realize how ingrained with research, like that's it, you can never change it. You have to be, that's it forever, and you're stuck with it. No, if it sucks, get rid of it, Sorry, go away. Really go away.
Yeah, I had for this last team meeting beforehand, I sent them the info, and then I did like an anonymous Q&A, so they got to submit questions about sexual health, the topics, anything that we went over, and which was really good. And I got some interesting questions, and then like 2 of them were like, is this log going to keep going? Like, and then someone else asked about like, are we surveying? Like, someone didn't realize that like the surveys were part of, and so it's just interesting how some people were focused on the project, some people were focused on just like sex stuff, some were like healthcare and sex, and yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So
this last week has been really, really good for so on Friday when we had our daily huddle, and that's when we do the team evaluation, and people were like, and so I was like, so next week, I mean, that's our last, and like, well, are we going to keep doing the huddles? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I said, we're going to keep doing anything and everything that we want to keep doing and more, because this is what it's about. It's not about my project. It's about all of this. And so that made me really happy, because I've struggled with that a little bit. And then this last week, they've told stories about one of the girls got pulled, and she was asking the patients about the things we've been doing at the clinic. And so it was like, okay, this has been.
There's your impact. I
Yeah.
always feel like when you start to catch other staff members, especially providers, yes, but especially like the ancillary staff, when you start to catch them like asking people and telling people, then you know you're like you've hit the curve and you're on the easy ride down.
Yes.
Because you really have made a difference then. So that's a huge success.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing, kind of in my scenario with spreading to OB in particular, because where our organization is right now, a lot of people are floating more than they used to, because this clinic I spread to only does GYN care 3 days a week now. And so the staff who still work 40 hours are 1 or 2 days a week going to other sites, and the providers, the OBs and the midwives, all cycle through right now. So it's interesting that we're doing this project in that time. One, it's challenging because some days I have a provider who hasn't been there in 3 weeks, and so didn't know we were doing it. And then, but also now as we go on, like past this into, actually spreading it to the rest of the clinic and then our clinics overall, those OB providers have all had a taste of it, and that staff have already talked about it. And they said, like, oh yeah, when we were at Northeast, where we don't have the tools, I went ahead and just asked the patient about oral and anal sex. And I was like, yes, like that's, and this just would be part of our normal. We're trying to make this change. These are ways we're doing it. We're tracking it to make sure we're doing it, but then it'll just become normal and you guys won't even think about it anymore.
Right.
And
isn't that the way it goes? I mean, that's really, that's the goal right there, is that you're spreading without even really trying to spread.
Right.
And
when others are spreading for you, it's like,
you have to make sure that it is, and getting to that point of people like, so what is the latest evidence? And that being okay that we weren't doing it exactly right, but now we know what the latest right is, and having that be part of the mindset of everybody. That's also a big hurdle. It's like Ginny's folks, that her docs that she's worked with, it sounds like, I can't say, but it sounds like this is what they learned, and they can't really move past that. They can't even have the discussion with someone of, I wonder if that would be the best thing,
Right.
So that's hard.
When I do some kind of things, I mean, they are my quick chart audits. I mean, they are kind of doing the right thing, but they are not open to that. Well, how do I do it? And well, what do you think? They're just not open to that kind of dialogue. And I had to kind of let that go and just keep doing what I'm doing and hope that they are overhearing or that they're seeing and will try it, or, because it is hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I mean, it's hard, especially when things are when you've got so much liability
but I always think it's interesting, what they don't realize is that they are accountable to what is evidence-based. I mean, they are accountable to what is the right thing to do. And not that there's a black and white there, but if you're doing something from the dark ages, like making vertical incisions, wow. Like, I couldn't help myself. I covered my mouth when you told me.
I did too. When I heard that, I was like, what? Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like when we were doing our, the last thing that we did, and one of the girls was talking about one of the episiotomy rates. This one doctor has episiotomy rates that are sky high. I'm like, people are still doing episiotomies? Like, how is that still happening?
It is actually shocking, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know why I change. So change has not ever been hard for me, and I don't know why that is. I look back on my life and I try to figure out why I can change. I don't know what that is, but some people really are threatened by it, and it's very hard. And I think you have to have a little bit of understanding of each of those types of people and situations and scenarios, because you have to go about it differently. And we know that as midwives, we know that we have to approach gently sometimes to make things change.
Well, that's been, like I was saying, everyone's been floating and changing in our site. So like some of my tests of change, I've had to be careful that I didn't push them too far, because people were already starting to like, ooh, certain part, like this is, I'm already not here all the time. And so it's like, okay, like, look, let's do a subtle thing, and let's change this. And, and I really talk with them individually, I found, because when you do it just in a group, they get like, and they don't say anything, and then they go talk to each other. But if you kind of can, hey, this is the thing, and then go and say, hey, do you have any concerns? Do you have any concerns? Do you have any concerns? That really helped them to like, And I said, what feedback do you have? And, they say, oh, nothing. I say, okay, nothing from patients. They go, oh, nothing. I just noticed this and this. I'm like, okay, great. Like that's, if you kind of get them to, I'm like, this is what we're looking for. I want your opinion. I know you think you're an MA and your opinion, you just do what you do, or the front office. I'm like, no, like you each bring something that is valuable that I don't know. And you're part of that team.
I think the interesting thing with your topic is there's that whole stigma of it's hard to talk about. And with Ginny, she's got the same issue, but in a very different way. Hers are not hard to talk about at all. It's just that it's that confrontation that we're all doing this differently and we have no idea how we're doing it. So let's try to standardize this and make sure let's really look at it, bring it up to the level of, maybe some shared decision-making tools or at least some standardized, CDC tools or something, .gov or something that we're all talking the same talk when we give patients their options. And even that she is having a hard time with. So it's the two spectrums. Yours is just a difficult topic, can be, and Ginny's isn't a difficult topic. But, yeah. And right. Isn't that a beautiful thing though?
We had an all-day training yesterday, actually, that Title 10 like statewide made us go to, and so I took one of my MAs with me, who's been really involved with the project and all this. And so we're sitting there, and they were talking about having difficult conversations, and she said, "What are some difficult conversations that you've had?" And some people were like, "Oh yeah, HIV diagnosis," and I was like, "Miscarriage," and this physician who works in Texas, she goes, "Anal sex." And she makes this face, and I look at my MA. We talked about afterwards. She's like, I was like, "Did you notice that?" She's like, "Oh yeah." She goes, "Well, we don't have a problem with that anymore. Like, we can talk about it, no problem." So it was just, I was like, "See, this is what." And she made this nasty face when she mentioned, "Oh, I hate having to talk about anal sex." And it was like, "Come on, like, I wouldn't talk to you either if you looked like that."
Right, exactly.
So yeah, it was just really cool. I think to get her to see that, like, like this. There's a reason that I pushed people, and I pushed people beyond their comfort limits with some of the things, like that charades thing. People were still talking about it. Like, I was like, I know I'm making you uncomfortable, because if I can get you there, then stuff below that,
super easy.
It'll be no big deal. Yeah, it'd be no big deal. So sure, you're not going to talk about fisting all the time, but because we did talk about it, talking about anal sex, you'll be like, oh, okay, no big deal. Yeah, been fun.
Well, good. You both done a good job. Any other questions, guys?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, if you have anything, you know how to find me. Pecha Cooches are next week, the week after?
It's the week after.
Yeah, the week of the 10th.
Mine's the day after the summary is due. Yeah.
So we have two of them, the 12. I'm going to look at those because, God, do we really have, because we did two of them because we were down to a few. Well, we can keep them. It doesn't matter. We can keep them. We could do them as one because there are 6 of you, or we could do them. Let's keep them. I'm going to just look and make sure they're 3 and 3 so that you guys aren't.
Oh, there's only 6 of us?
Yeah. No. Sorry, that's my 740s.
Yeah,
there are 10 of you. Yeah, there's 10 of you.
I was like, people really didn't do well this time.
No. I have down from 13 to 6 in my 740s. Yeah, not because they failed out. I only have one person who is probably going to fail. It's time. People don't believe us when we do that EMP advising. Like, I try to tell them, I try to talk about barriers, but anyway.
Yeah, there's 3 of us from our postmasters cohort who did the 12-month like just go option. So we're the only 3 that have experienced it. So everyone's been asking us, like, some of them are starting are in planning now, and then some are about to. And so everyone's been asking us, like, how is it? How's doing both? Can I do it? And some of them, I'm like, if you've struggled with some of these other pieces this much, like, I really think you should not try to do them together, because I mean, it's tough, but like, if you've got to, and I tell them, like, 740 is tough because it's all new. It's like a whole new language, and it's just trying to figure out. And then once you get it, you're like, oh, like the sort of peak, the first 5 weeks are like, and then it's like, okay, yeah, I got it. And it gets easier as you go. And then I tell them 41 is not hard, but you're just constantly, you're going the whole time.
Yeah, it's just.
But you do know the language better. You're in this environment, but it's just straight across, go. And so that's really where it's more the time rather than like as so much the mental. And then you have the every other weekend thing where you're like, so and I tell people, I'm like, you want to do something? I can do it on my off weekends. This weekend, I am not.
Yeah.
I have to spend a lot of time doing that and stuff. So it's, yeah,
And then
it's a
next
totally
term
different
is
flow.
less time, but depending on if you are a writer or not a writer, you know,
Right.
and it's hard because you are going to do what we tried to have you do with the plan and the study, you know, how you had to pick out each of those sections. It's the same thing when you write it, you have to pick out what is the analysis. No, that's actually how you collected your data. No, that's actually how you analyze your data. How did you study your, you know, it's that. And so I saw that in that assignment, she's got the Squire up, and I would print that. And I would print the Squire E&E and the checklist, and I wouldn't do anything with them, but I want you to be looking at them over the next few weeks and sort of letting it kind of filter into your brain, like stick it up next to your run charts.
Okay.
Because it's also one of those things that you have to analyze what you've done. And that takes a little bit, it has to like filter down into you, you know?
Right.
All right, guys, I will send this to you. And with your permission, are you okay if I send this to the first group as well, that I negligently didn't talk about the summary with them? And then I will see you for your Pechacuchas.
Okay.
All right, guys. Ginny, are you doing okay?
Yes, I'm better. This has been a great distraction for me, and I'm just going to get into this and keep moving forward. So, yes,
Daniel,
you're doing great.
hearts. Yay. Hey, now Daniel, where are you again?
Indianapolis.
And Ginny, where are you?
Oklahoma.
Okay, are we talking a million miles away?
I have no idea. I'm geographically challenged.
It's pretty far.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find a new thing for you, Ginny.
I know. Well, and you know, right now I'm about my hope is I'm about 3.5 hours away from all of my family. Like I know located. And so I really, if I can find something back closer to home, even if that means I make some sacrifices as, you know, as far as deliveries and such, just being a new provider is, if I had to give up doing deliveries for a little bit, that's okay with me. I think at this point, I just need to feel, I need to be home with my family, and I need to feel competent as a provider in a safe environment.
Yeah. It's so important. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to keep my ear out for you. And, you know, they do send, sometimes I get them, but then there's a site at Frontier, and I'm not sure what it was, but we get advertisements. Hey, we're looking, let people know. So you should find that out too. And you do look on the ACNM site?
Yes. And I have to say, I have not been looking a lot right now because I'm focused on this. When I'm in June, I have 6 months. So, and you know, what is it called? The HRSA or whatever. They're all having like
good.
And, you know, stuff like that. And
good.
Are either of you going to ACNM National?
I'm not going this year. I go every year, but this year I've got to go to AABC. I know. Are you guys coming to graduation?
I'm planning on it.
I don't know.
I know. Well,
it's like I want to do something. Like I feel like I have to celebrate this, even if I play it. But if I go to Kentucky, like it's not. I don't know that there's going to be like I want my family there with me and all the people that you know. So I don't know if I'll go there or if I'll just.
This family will be.
That's right. This family will be there.
You know what? That is absolutely right. And I have to tell you, Daniel, I have told you your story about your finding chlamydia and, you know, vaginal and gonorrhea oral and just what, and I mean, I've been telling people, can you believe this? And this is what's happened. And the RMAs are like, do we need to be screening for that? I'm like, well, if we think we have, yes, we do. And so I had to tell you that you have like motivated, like even all the way here in Oklahoma. It's just
there you go.
Yeah.
But they don't have anal sex in Oklahoma.
No.
Somebody was like, people have anal sex. I'm like, I bet a lot of people are having.
Let me tell you.
And that's why I said, you know, your outcome may be as important as your screening.
Because nothing else is interesting.
Well, and you know, the other thing that you can do is on a separate one, completely separate, so you don't mess anything up. You can try combining them. You could have a value column for your screening and a value column for your outcome, so that they were on one run chart.
Oh, okay.
Voila.
That might be fun.
Yeah. Do it on a completely separate one, so you don't screw anything up.
Right.
All right, guys.
I'm an angry email.
I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. I'll see you in weeks.
Couple weeks. Yep.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Hugs, Jenny.
Thank you very much. Really.